thoughts with us. Yeah?
The organizers for giving this opportunity for me to come and share my thoughts, and it's quite interesting that a lot of these have got correlated with the moderator, and it could be only a matter of good coincidence in design, because this was done at 33,000 feet yesterday in the flight as I was coming from Jorhat to this place. A few of these things I have put here, and I'll just make some comments. The person who is speaking to you is a former Navy commander up to 99, and before that for 30 years I'm a total product of government system. Sainik School, National Defence Academy, the Indian Navy, the IITs and so on. The total government system, right from my schooling, except for my PhD, everything is from government system. So I owe a lot to the government. So in a few comments that I will come, somebody should not feel that why he is so anti if I may sound. Because I am also would like to I'm just keeping the slide here to say that I am also member of the General Council of NBA, which is a national body of accreditation. So I know something about rankings and ratings, because I am still on their board. For another 6 months I am serving. And I do serve with 2 foreign agencies, and having worked with few universities abroad, I have some ideas about the research and developing a framework. This is the topic that has been given to us. And now, few of the things to ponder as to how far these $1 trillion research activities benefit the common masses of society. As the moderator was saying, then do we need to keep on borrowing ideas from the West? And is it not necessary that, after all, it is very typical to say the highest form of research contribution is when your paper is published in an international refereed journal of high impact, right? Now that may not impact my common society here, but my research has to be in a high impact journal. And 95% people of this country cannot make use of the research that I have done. Then I don't know in which direction are we taking this democracy in our nation, unless otherwise. And another thing that we find, again, I have made that comment about 30 years of my being with the government, where I owe a lot. The private education system was basically created to address those gaps. You heard the speakers coming from government and say that, okay, private universities have got freedom, which is true. I want to start a new program, it takes me just half an hour. Just to call my board and tell 3 people that I'm going to do it, I'll take ex post facto sanction. In the next board meeting, I'll convene next week. It's as simple as that. I mean, somebody if I was a Vice Chancellor in government university, I know how long it would have taken me to do that. So basically, we were created to address those gaps which the system is not allowing our more elite senior partners from the government institutions to do, and contribute towards nation building. Now what happens as a result is, there are 2 IITs here, one from Delhi, one from Bombay, and we know it that from all these great institutions, 95% of them go and serve somebody else and not this particular nation. Now who is serving the engineering requirements of this nation? It is the product of these private colleges. So who is doing the nation building more? It is not the public institutions, but it is the private institutions which are doing so. They are because they are by the society, for the society and of the society. But they are closer to the common people, the decision making is faster. There are a few of these constraints which have been amply elaborated by the speakers before lunch and immediately after lunch, the government policy. Now here we are talking about creating a framework for research. We also talked about creating more PhDs. We are highly deficient as far as PhDs are concerned. And then comes 4 days back, there is a regulation from UGC. You cannot be a guide if you are 59 years of age. And the guide has to be from the same university. Fortunately, they allowed co-guide. I am coming from a system, my PhD is from BITS Pilani. My guide was from State of University, New York, Albany. And my examiner was Dr. Fatak from IIT Bombay. I only had 2 faculty whom I met just 6 times from BITS Pilani. And I could be a PhD. Thank God, BITS Pilani doesn't have to follow the UGC system. Now just imagine, where will the PhD scholars come from? Where will be the guides coming from? And then you say you can only guide 8 people. In any case, 8 is too much. So there is a government policy problem. There is lack of funds, skilled people, as it has been talked about. So these are the few things that are required, as per me, for creating a research-ready institution. One is a research culture. So I've already made a statement that the majority of contribution is now coming from the private institutions. Private institutions are very highly placement centric, because people will join me at Kaziranga University only when they will get placed. People will not join me if 3 of my students' papers are published in high impact international refereed journal. Doesn't make any difference. So therefore we have all become placement centric. The research culture of seeking, as you were saying, of inspection, of introspection, of curiosity, of innovation is all missing. So somehow we are chasing numbers, 4.5 lakhs, 5.5 lakhs, and so on and so forth, 100% placement. And then where's the research infrastructure? The private universities have to find land themselves, build the university themselves, staff salaries and all that, operate it themselves. Then where do you find that money to create a good microscope cost a crore? Now where do we get this equipment from? So there is a severe infrastructure problem, not that it's not available. Research infrastructure is available in this country. So fortunately for me, where I am located at Jorhat, Jorhat is in India, it's in Assam. And it takes you, if you are trying to come, other than flight will take you a day, but if you try to come to any other place, it takes about 47 hours. So we have that secluded. Now, I am fortunate that I got few central universities around, and the vice chancellors there had been kind enough to allow me to use their facilities. So I find that, frankly speaking, I can meet 80% of my needs by sharing resources of the system around. So infrastructure is there but unused. There is no financial support for private institutions, right? The same vice chancellor, who I am very thankful to, he was, in fact, that day he said, sorry, I am in a bad mood today. So I said, what happened? He said, my funding has been reduced from 210 crores to 185 crores annually. And I operate my university at 18.5 crores for almost the same number of students at that university. I was just wondering that how should I be behaved? So the problem for financial support, skilled resources in the country, and there's no motivation for research. So if my paper gets published, I don't think my own parents or my family likes me. But my salary is 17.5 lakhs. The neighbors also start smiling at me. So where is the motivation for research? And there are roadblocks, as I said, inappropriate relation of research in the country, attitude of government towards private institutions, then attitudes of promoters towards research. So I go to my promoters and ask for some money. They will say, sir, इससे हमको क्या होने वाला है? Like for GST, they were saying, इससे मेरे को क्या मिलने वाला है? And things like that. So there's a lack of research climate, appropriate review structure in the country. So we actually have to form our own review system rather than waiting for sending it to the established systems which are there for publishing. Like I come from the management field, the biggest dream is to get your paper published in Harvard Business Review. Now, why can't we have an Indian Business Review? And we can have our own system here which we can create. We have got enough talent, enough knowledge, know-how in the country, and we start celebrating research output. So based on this, I am very quickly just recommending a framework. The first framework is about collaboration. This collaboration has to be organized and structured. I come from a very humble family. Today, of course, God has been kind. I have received the grace. I now live in Bombay, few flats, etc., and all that, just to boast. I'm son of a railway driver. I'm proud of that fact. I come from a small, and all those of my age would remember that, frankly speaking, we were 4 brothers and sisters. We used to use the same towel. There was no different towel for. And in fact, the elder brother, I was the one very fortunate. My shirt used to be given to my younger brother, and so on and so forth. This is the nation which has been always built on these kind of value system. And then why is it that there is enough infrastructure? The previous secretary was telling, why do you have to build medical college like this? And a doctor doesn't need a football ground. Why can't these facilities be created common as Dubai has done by creating Knowledge City, where I worked for about 6 months at SP Jain, where I was the director, that we did not have to worry about any of this infrastructure. The government created and gave it to us. All they told was, come, you are teachers, come and teach. Do what you can do well. So collaboration has to be organized and structured. It has to be about regulatory, which is both for center and states, and it has to be also associations which we have to form between the various north, south, various to start sharing the research infrastructure. it will be very difficult. We as a developing nation can ill afford to waste money where it is not required. And we have to still build roads, we have to still look at our villages and so on and so forth. So let's not waste money with these kind of resources. A microscope which is going to be used only for half an hour, to invest crores on it. Let's have a time sharing method, and let there be a structure, let it be there in the system that universities which have been funded by the state and have, they should be actually, it should be in their mandate to support certain other institutions around as far as infrastructure is concerned. Then we have to set a direction for this nation about the research. I'm suggesting it has to be application oriented. It has to serve the common man, so it has to be application oriented. And there are institutions which when Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru created those national laboratories, the whole idea was to actually create an ecosystem for fundamental research. So let those institutions which will create with that vision contribute to fundamental research. Universities and the industry should now join hands to create research which is more application oriented, and in effect it should be bottom up. Let it be need based. And we have the rich heritage. I'm very happy that it was being mentioned by Dr. Shetty that, and our Prime Minister mentioned that in US, that sir, we are very thankful to you for the Yoga Day, and still we have not yet patented it, he said, as yet. Because someday some US company will patent yoga, and then we will be buying the rights by paying $2 million back to get the yoga which we had known ourselves. It was mentioned by Dr. Shetty that the Western people are coming here to study the herbs. I come from Assam. Out of 108 jari-bootis which grow, 97 of them grow naturally in Assam. And there can be a system which can be created to actually start patenting them. Now the best part is that for an allopathic you can go and get a mediclaim, but for Ayurvedic you can't get a mediclaim. It is not supported. It's our own system which is not supported. So if I do any research, that research is not celebrated. So we have a heritage. Let's start respecting our own heritage. This delight in foreign, as I just mentioned, that I would much rather like to publish an Indian Business Review, which has been a conglomerate of serious management thinkers. The most prolific management thinkers of the times had been either C.K. Pradhan, who actually shook the whole world to turn the whole management thought upside down, or Soumitra Gosar. Both of them are not there from London School of Business. Now, why do we have to then have this delight in foreign? We can have Indian systems, we can have more rigor and robust for making this our own review system and structure. And I would also like to suggest that, like how CSR is now compulsory for corporates to contribute the 2%, why can't we have this compulsory contributions from corporate for research? And it's a mandate for them that, okay, you are in this particular area, so you are required to fund this much to any institution, and then use that particular applied research in your company to create. Pharma can use it in a huge manner, and so can be the other institutions. So today we are borrowing a train which runs at 350 kilometers an hour. Very proudly we are testing it. I mean, is there nobody in this country who could have developed that kind of a method? Because this nation was the front runner in metallurgy in Ashoka's time, and that dates back to BCs. So there are thinkers who could think of material. Today, it is because that we don't take pride in that, we have to get into this thing of borrowing this from abroad. Then indiscriminate allocation of funding, I already mentioned. For fund, I'm not saying fund the private institutions for operations, but please fund them for research, applied research, India-centric research. A little bit thoughts on rankings. My previous speaker did cover a lot, and since I serve on the National Body of Accreditations, I know a little bit. We keep talking in the National Board of Accreditation about truly outcome-based ranking system as per the Bologna Accord, WTO Accord, which we have the signatories. But frankly speaking, I can tell you from internally, these are all lookalikes. Still, we keep counting land, number of fans, toilets, laboratories, etc., before we accredit institutions. Right? It is still not outcome-based. So it lacks intent. Let it be free from bodies. Now, I have been going through some exercise for the last 5 years. I have been a part of FICCI's system, which we were trying to form a higher education reform system. CII and AICTE have now formed a system which should actually be competing to national body of accreditation. Now CII is actually asked me, they are the best suited people to rank institutions. So CII, FICCI and bodies like that along with academicians can actually form an independent NGO. So please free it from government and bureaucracy, let there be an independent system to have this ranking and rating systems. And I've written a oh my God here because that for private it's a new institution that gets formed, and in Vice Chancellor's office actually the cellar at the behind is totally blank because there is no award that I have received. So like you have Filmfare Awards, you have Screen Awards, we also have formed a system, this magazine, that magazine, due respect to the DL is a very good magazine, thanks for them to get us here, right? So there are now small, as a matter of fact, if you open the internet, every day I get at least 10 mails where they say, if I send an advertisement of 2 lakhs, then I will get an excellence award in this or that. In fact, I can choose that I am trying to see the most excellent university in Northeast, or this side of Brahmaputra, or something like that. You know? So I can actually create categories and start getting awards and fill the cellar behind the Vice Chancellor's office. See, there are 7 awards that we have won. Right? This is a joke of the rating systems that we are trying to create. So let it be an independent, outcome-based body which creates that rating. And let it be, this will only happen, I am now suggesting the final thing, let there be Indian participation in this ranking and rating. Sir talked about QS, we talked about other rankings and rating systems. I mean, the time has come, as Modi said, that I have come here not begging to you US, I have come here to you with a proposal. It's in your interest that invest in India. So I am not begging before you. Similarly, for all these rankings and ratings, we are big enough now. The number of institutions that we have, the kind of knowledge pool that we have sitting in this hall and in the whole country, is that we can start doing Indian participations of rankings. So that those Western institutions now start going for Indian ranking system. Somebody will say this professor is talking out of his head. You know, there is AACSP and how can you challenge that? Well, IPL has already challenged. IPL has already challenged. This has told me to shut up, so I'm just, this is my last one. Thank you very much. Okay. So, who could have think that IPL would shake the entire business? And now our Kabaddi League is becoming as large as the English Soccer League. Next 3 years' time, we will be doing that. So why can't an Indian ranking and rating system in next 3 years' time become as big as AACSB? Then people will start respecting our education system and our institutions. I am what I am because we are the Ubuntu philosophy. Together, I think we can. Thank you very much. I finished not on time.
We can have a big round of applause for Dr. Sunil Rai. Spoken like a true ex-naval commander, the real Indian, and thoroughly. And it was great listening to him, and I second you totally. I mean, I'm all for our great heritage and culture. I said in my introduction, you know, we are the ones who take pride in pioneering experiential engineering education. Now, this word experiential engineering education is also borrowed from the West. But what I'm actually talking about is nothing which is new. It has already been part of this country. Self-reflective consciousness is what this country has always invested in. This is what the Gurukul Shiksha is all about. Today we call it mentoring system. But mentoring system is nothing but a complete guided living experiential knowledge under the tutelage of a guru who takes the kid along and give him a hands-on experience of everything, whether that is technical or medical or just grammar itself, yeah, basics learnings. So thank you very much for